Let's shorten men's shirt sleeves, shall we? As often happens, shirt sleeves can be too long. This particular client's shirt sleeves are about one cuff's length too long. That happens to measure just over 2 inches. We decided we would shorten the shirt 2 inches. Ideally, we would be shortening this sleeve less than 2 inches. I'll tell you why. The placket is now going to become very short by the time we shorten this. The client is okay with this. There is a way to extend the placket. I'll tell you right now, it takes a great deal of mastery to make a great looking placket. So we won't go over that today. Shortening this sleeve then means taking off this cuff, shortening from here to here, and then putting the cuff back on. Let's begin then by detaching this cuff. I like to start from underneath and a ripping we go. Shirts that have been heavily starched have a different feel to the ripping out process than shirts that have not been starched. Take your time until the cuff is entirely off. You probably noticed it took quite a bit of ripping at the edges of each cuff to get it off. But congratulations for doing so. Now pick away the old threads. We'll set the cuff aside now and measure our 2 inches. Chalk. And that brings us right below the existing buttonhole. I'm going to take this button off, but first I'm going to draw my 1/4 inch cutting line, roughly, and our 2 inches begins from here to here. Flip the cuff over and do the same on the other side. Add a 1/4 inch. Button off. This inside line nearest the cuff edge is the cutting line. I just plain like working with pinking shears, so that's what I do. Cutting past the buttonhole, which will end up disappearing in the cuff seam. Going slow and easy through the cuff sleeve pleats and seam. And placket. Now we're going to pin this cuff right back on.